Hello everyone, this is Lori Smith and I'm glad to be here. I hope you're having a good day. It's Monday, July 10th, and I'm just sitting around this morning doing coffee, trauma, surviving abuse podcast. And I don't know how many I'll do of these, but I just wanted to kind of, come out as a survivor of abuse, sort of to the adult survivor community out here. Um, just to be sort of a word of encouragement for you. This is sort of be maybe a line of direction to sort of give you something else to think about. That's kind of what I was doing on the last podcast there, of what I found helpful to do for my healing journey. So that's kind of what we're doing. I'm not a therapist or a psychotherapist or anything like that. I'm just a survivor of child abuse, and just willing to talk about this stuff, which realistically, without putting a band-aid on it or sugarcoating it, making it sound better than it really was, or that it wasn't that bad, gaslighting kind of crap. Just looking at the reality of what abuse does to anyone, whether it's a child or an adult or man, woman, however you identify. It's horrific, and the aftermath is really hard to deal with. And so this is why I do this. So, hopefully you get something out of this. I'm having coffee, hanging out, so, kick back if you're into listening what I have to say. Today I'm really not going to talk about anything graphic, or too graphic. Just kind of talk what's on my heart. I've been sat around all weekend just listening to Radiohead music. I've been on a Radiohead kick, really all year. And just enjoying their music and just really getting into it. And just thinking sort of about how my life is like going now, how it was going before, when I was on my healing journey. And the fact that my husband passed away, and how my life has been since then. Sort of reflecting, right? Doing some reflection. Because I'm off with a broken shoulder, and I got fired from my job, and I've got 6 months to go for my healing for my shoulder, and so I'm doing a lot of sort of inner reflection, right? Got fans blowing, so you probably be able to hear that in the background. It's pretty hot up here right now. Not like Arizona, but it's hot, and it's muggy, and we've had all these forest fires burning up here in Canada, so everything is kind of like it's hot, smoky. Muggy at the same time. We got fire. We got thunderstorms. That come through almost every night, but they start more fires because there's lightning strikes, and it's dry, and there's not very much rain falling, so it's creating more problems than it's helping. So yeah, it's pretty hot up here. So yeah, I've got fans blowing, so sorry about that in the background. But I was just sitting around. I was thinking about the fact that at the end of the road. Looking at, our lives. Okay, I'm in a different position than maybe a lot of people that might be listening, because I'm almost 60. I never thought I'd live to be 60, and I never thought I'd live to be 30. So there you go. I wasn't really planning on longevity, and, I'm glad to be here, for sure, because I was reading a couple of my poems last week in the broadcasts, and I was just looking at the fact that this is really my victory, right? As hard as life is, and as hard as things are, it's my victory. To be able to say that, yeah, I did not let this abuse destroy my life. I don't just sit around thinking about my past all the time. Like I'm thinking about it while I'm doing these broadcasts, because I'm trying to be sort of a voice out here for people, for validation, and maybe just to encourage you, right? To keep going. But I don't really sit around thinking about it all the time. I am stuck in my body. I do have all my memories, and all the stuff that I went through. But I don't let that dictate really my life, because of the healing work that I was able to do. I don't have those horrible flashbacks that I used to have, and I don't have the nightmares and things like that anymore. I do still dream some strange dreams, and I wake up feeling a little sometimes even shouting a little bit or, upset. So I still have some, I wouldn't say they're like nightmares, but just sort of weird stuff in my dream life, But it's also because my husband's not here, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I miss him, and he was a very much my protector and comforter um, as his as his woman. He treated me really well, and he loved me, and he just held me through the pain. He really couldn't take my pain away, but like I was talking on my last broadcast or the one before it, that he was just so good to me. And he's not here now. I think that's part of my healing from him passing away, is just having to realize, like, he's gone, and that comfort level that I had with him is gone. And so, it's hard, right? But I was sitting around thinking this weekend, I was like, with what we got going on in the world right now, if you just take a look around, it's not looking good. There's so many problems. There's so many people dying, so many people that are gonna die in different countries. I live in North America. It's coming here. And I thought about it, and I thought, at the end of the day, this ties into what we were talking about last week, which was really learning how to love ourselves and how to accept ourselves as we are, right? As, this wounded person who was wounded, and, facts are facts, it's what it is, a survivor of abuse, but that we need to learn how to love ourselves and how to accept ourselves. We don't necessarily, like, whether it's not about, oh, I had to forgive, or it's not really about that. It's more of a accepting myself, that I'm okay with me. It's, so even if things aren't okay in my life, that's why I did that one talking about, it's okay to not be okay, because a lot of times things aren't okay. People are struggling, people are having a hard time. Could be any number of situations, like I was saying. And with what we're facing right now on the earth, which is wars, problems of world wars going on. People have been dying for years, but now it might be our turn, Sorry about that. I've got bad allergies is what I've got. I should have took an allergy pill. But anyway, they don't really help that much. That's why I don't bother. So I was sitting around thinking, I thought, at the end of the day, really, this was really important to me, was because I had spent so many years in trauma, just trying to survive the abuse, then later trying to, like, figure out a way to live and not kill myself. And a lot of depression and just a lot of anger and rage. Then when I started to heal, I started to realize, like, wow, I feel good. Because I had never experienced that before. And so I thought, at the end of the road, I have to be okay with myself. We're not going to always be happy with what's going on around us, or what's caused us to, whether we have an illness or something that's just taken us out physically, or whether it's emotional stuff, depression, or some type of mental, psychological illness, right? That at the end of the day, we really have to learn how to accept ourselves and be okay with who we are, right? Because that's all we have, and we only have today, like now, in the moment, right? It's kind of, we hope for tomorrow and the day after and the day after, but there's no guarantee of that, right? And so what I tried to do, especially from the point of my life where I've always been a bit of a fighter, obviously, as you can tell with my stuff, I don't really necessarily point it out that way, but I would never hit my parents, like, on purpose, but I would stand up for my mother, against my dad. And I wouldn't, necessarily, like, try to hurt him, but I was trying to save my mother from him, and so I'm a fighter, but not in a way just to go around picking fights with people. I'm talking about being a fighter that says, you know what, I'm gonna come out of this okay. I'm going to, no matter what the outcome, no matter what the outcome, I end up in a wheelchair, whatever. I end up with some sort of horrible disease. I've already dealt with cancer. I've dealt with, um, you know, like dilapidating body injuries, right? So I'm kind of like, wherever this road takes me, I'm going to have to be okay with that. I think what it is it's winning the fight, whatever that fight is for you. It's saying, you know what, I'm going to do this. I can do this, you know? Um, and actually believing in yourself, like, because many times there won't be anybody else there to say, you can do this. You have to find that fire within yourself that says, you know what, I can do this, right? And go for it. Like not all of our dreams are realized. I mean, I had dreams. Of course I had dreams. I've always had dreams of things that I wanted to do in life, my career choices and things. It just didn't always work out. Actually, they didn't really work out. But I did get to do some really cool stuff, for somebody who grew up abused and then a young drug addict. It could have gone extremely bad, right? I could have just been a statistic. I knew that, right? I knew that when I was doing the drugs, and I knew that when I was laying in the gutter, overdosing and passing out as like a 16, 17-year-old girl. I used to drink too much and pass out at parties. I could have been raped. I was just really blessed to have good friends around who would watch out for me, right? I'd wake up, my clothes would be still on, buttoned and everything. I'm like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? I'd wake up like 2 days later. It's like, I used to really try to intentionally take myself out through alcohol, drugs, and whatever, and I was just like, my friends were just partying, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do the excess. If I wake up, I do. If I don't, I don't. That was my mentality. So I was thankful that nothing happened, for sure. And, I had run-ins with some police officers. I was really thankful I didn't get thrown in jail, you know what I mean? Or sent to prison. It's like, I used to run from cops. I'm thankful they didn't shoot me. I was living a crazy life until I decided at the age of, 23 to change it. And I'm like, wow, I don't want to go out that way. I don't want to go out with the statistic way that would say that, yeah, an abuse survivor, raped as a child, abused by both parents, psychologically unwell parents, mentally unwell parents, mean and rotten and evil parents, and a psychologically unwell brother who raped me for about a year, sexually abused me, sodomized me. It just hurt me extremely bad. And so, I really technically, when I was on this, hanging on the streets, drinking, doing drugs, that was what society would say would be sort of the norm for somebody maybe in my situation. That sadly enough, this is the road that many people choose, right? Because it's the road that made sense to me at the time. My brothers were drug addicts. My parents were crazy. So I thought, hey, I'm doing what we do. I'm crazy. I'm a drug addict and I'm on the street. Hey, this is life, right? I had some wonderful friends, like I said, and I had people that were trying to help me out. Thank God. Because what they said and what they did for me did make a difference. And, as a 14-year-old, 13-year-old girl. And then later, I took that into just hanging around my teen friends, and they were very helpful to me, actually. And, all of my friends, I had some beautiful, wonderful friends, and I still do. And, it's like, I wanted to see a different result, right? Because I realized, after seeing my friend, being beaten up by her boyfriend, and then him threatening my life for a couple of years, I thought, I'd fall asleep at the wheel. I'd be driving asleep. Just because I wouldn't sleep, I'd just be so high, doing speed. Just I wouldn't sleep for days, and I'd just eventually my body would shut down, and I'd be driving. And, thankfully didn't wreck into anything, but, I'd wake up in front of a fence. I'm like, oh my God. Um, yeah, uh, I could see my life tragically ending in a horrible way, you know. And I didn't, to be honest with you, part of me didn't care. But the other part of me did. There was a part of me that said, you know what? No, no. I do not want this. I do not want this to be my end. You know what I mean? Because for a while there, I thought that I did. I thought I wanted to go out, with a bang, go out in the fire, go out in the flames, crash and burn, right? And I thought, no, no, that's not what I'm going to do. And I got serious at the age of 23, like I was talking about there last week, if you want to go back and listen to those. But, my goal was to see if I could do adult life and actually make it, right? And like I said, I never dealt with any of the abuse stuff. I never dealt with any of the stuff that I needed to deal with until the age of 44. But I was a start, and it took me 20 years basically to finally get to the point where I hit rock bottom after trying so hard to do life, and thinking, hey, everything's, I know things aren't cool because I always want to kill myself, but I go through these periods of time where everything seems to be okay for a little while. And I knew I needed help. And at the age of 44, I started reaching out. And so I'm really glad that I did. So I was thinking about that just this last weekend. And it was just at the end of the day, if this was my last year, because we got possibility of nukes flying here, at any given time if these crazy people decide that that's what they've got to do, right? And I thought, let's just say, yeah, what happens if World War III, bad news, millions of people being killed. Let's say I don't make it through the winter, right? I am literally okay with my life. I really am. I feel like, yeah, I didn't see all my dreams come true. I didn't see, certain things happen in my life that I really wanted, to do. I didn't, career-wise. But at the end of the day, I made it, I did everything I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a voice and stand up and speak out against abuse, especially child abuse. I wanted to be someone who stands up for human rights, especially women's and children's rights, but all human rights. I wanted to be a person who created positive change with my voice and with my books and my writings and my poetry. And I had a lot of people support my work and share it around. And, you may not realize it by looking at my YouTube site, but I have had over the years so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, appreciate my work, right? And at the end of the day, that's really what it was all about. It wasn't about getting a pat on the back. Oh, look at you, you've done such a great job. What it was I wanted to be a voice of encouragement for survivors of abuse, to say, you know what, you can do this. I know you didn't deserve what happened to you, but you can do this, man. Stick it out. Do not give up, And I wanted to be a voice for those people whose voices were silenced because they died from abuse. Children, adults. And, at the end of the day, I got to achieve my goal of being able to do that. Regardless of, it didn't go necessarily worldwide, even though it kind of did, right? I had a lot of people in different countries who were following my work, but, and sharing it within their countries. And I've had people buy, sets of my books in their own languages. And, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing, final, part of my journey, right? And I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, my health isn't that great, and if I end up homeless or something, which very well could happen, would I make it a winter on the street here in Canada where I live? I don't think so. I don't think my body would do that. I can't even stay outside for 2 hours, like let alone in the wintertime. It's so cold. It's so brutally cold here in the wintertime. It's like may as well be at the North Pole. It's so cold. So I thought, you know what, hey, if this is my last winter, let's say it is, am I okay with it? I'll be like, I had to think about it. I'm like, you know what? I thought for 2 seconds, because I'm like, absolutely, right? Like, I fought the good fight, and I won, right? Because I leave this earth, let's say this is my last winter for some reason, right? Then I get to leave with the knowledge that I did the best that I could under the circumstances with what I had to work with, in every area of my life. I really did the best that I could to try to do things, properly, and to do things right, and to make change, and to make positive change in this world. And I tried to do no harm, right? I mean, obviously, we all hurt people, and it's sad but true. We all hurt people. But I tried really hard not to do any harm, and that's my goal. And so, it's like, at the end of the road, it doesn't really matter where this life takes me, right? I mean, I'm not all that concerned about it. Where it does, it takes me. Where it does, where it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not worried about that. Because at the end of the road, if I've got 1 year, 2 years, however many years left here, which, I don't see a lot of longevity here just because of what I've got going on with my health. But, even if it's a few more years, I mean, at the end of the road, I'm thankful for what I was able to do. And I'm thankful for, for the people that helped me along this journey, right? Very thankful for them, and for anybody who's, shared my work and put my message out there, right? And who took it seriously and decided to live, right? And decided to get help. So thankful, right? Because really, that was really what it was all about, was just reaching that one person. The one person, that says, you know what, I decided to live after I listened to your broadcast. I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it, right? It's a wonderful feeling. I mean, not everybody, makes it. A lot of these people on the streets right now, they're not going to make it. They're going to die from those drugs, right? They're going to die. And that's sad, it really is. So I'm saying, the abuse that I suffered as a child, all the way through, my youth, does not dictate my life. I'm the one that makes the choices. I'm the one that makes the decisions. I'm the adult in the situation, right? So I won the battle, right? And I would wish that for everybody, right? So, at the end of the road, we have to be okay with how our life went. And this is where I realized that back when I started writing A Life of Death and Redemption as that blog, growing up in an abusive household. Not so fond memories growing up in an abusive household. That turned into the book A Life of Death and Redemption. It's just the blog that I was writing. And, I thought about it. I thought, I do not want to end up like my abusers, my parents, right, especially. Because they were so, at the end of their road, they never, ever beat they never beat what had haunted them their whole lives, which was abuse. Both of my parents were abused, right? I talk about that. I've talked about it. You can go back and watch my stuff. My mom was haunted, right? What she did to me was wrong. What she did to all of us was wrong. But I always just kind of speak for myself. What she did to me was wrong. But then again, I know where she came from. I know about the abuse, right, that she suffered as a child, all the way up through her teens. She was horribly mistreated by her own mother, right? My grandmother. And it's my grandmother, I don't know how she grew up. I have no idea. But she was very messed up. very screwed up individual. Murdered one of her own sons, my uncle, when he was like just a teenager, and she got away with it. You know? That's why my mom could sit there, beating me, smashing my head in with this rolling pin, saying it's my right to kill you. I can kill you if I want to. Right? She was just doing what her own mother did. Right? So, my parents were victims also, right? What they did was wrong. I don't excuse it away. That's why I never excuse abuse away. Abuse is abuse. It's not okay. They could have chose to not do that. They could have chose not to keep that going, but they didn't, see? And when I hit 23 and I decided to get off the drugs, I was like, you know what, I'm changing this. I'm changing this. I'm not doing this. Because I watched my mom let this horrible life, being abused by my dad. She stayed in the abuse, right? I watched her basically forfeit her life, right? And my mom knew nothing but abuse. She grew up abused. She married this man who abused her, and she stayed with him. Like, yeah, okay. Like what my mom did to me was not right. But I could also see what she was going through. See? And in my mind, I thought, I am not doing that. I'm not carrying this life cycle on. At the age of 23, actually it was around 22 and a half, right in there somewhere, I didn't know I was barren. I didn't know that I couldn't have children, see, at that point. And I was thinking, I want to have a family. I don't want to be, live this lifestyle, right? I want to have a good life, I decided, I made these decisions, right? That was very important to me that I get on the right road, right? Get off the drugs and straighten up my life, and then I met this guy and I thought that was it, he said he was going to marry me and we were going to have 10 children, and I found out I couldn't have children, right? But he ended up leaving, dumping me, which was a good thing because we would have killed each other for sure. But that's in my books if you want to read it. But the thing is he was an abuse survivor himself, and the two of us would have probably killed each other, right? So it was a good idea that we didn't stay together. So I know he's happily married now, and he's got children, and I'm happy for him. And I struggled along, and then I came to Canada to get away from my crazy mother, especially. And I met the love of my life, Cecil. And, I wouldn't trade. Like, I was thinking about that last week when I was doing those broadcasts. I was like, I wouldn't trade. Like, if I could go back and say, okay, if I could have an abuse-free life, but that means that I would never have met Cecil, my husband, would I change it? I have to say no, right? So yeah, it was horrible. I suffered stuff that I should have never had to suffer. And, yeah, we all suffer at some point, don't we? And usually at the hands of somebody else, sometimes ourselves. But the thing is I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for nothing, because the love, I got to know true love, real love. Some marriages really aren't about that, right? And some marriages really don't. The people are sort of lacking in they never get to feel that love, that real love from somebody. Man, I'm telling you, like, Cecil and I were like, we were more in love the day that he died than we were when we first met. Like, we really loved each other. I mean, it was real love, and so many people never ever get to know what that's like, know what that's about. Would I trade my life if it meant that I couldn't meet my husband Cecil and spend 23 years with him? No. No. I wouldn't trade it. I thought about that. That's a heavy deal. Because as you all know, I've talked about the abuse that I suffered as a child. I've written about it. I've gone on and on and on about it. How horrible it was. And it was. But, I've also talked about what it meant for me to have this man in my life that loved me, truly loved me, and showed me what real love really is, right? It's that sacrificial, you know what, I love you, I'd lay my life down for you, right? Like he said, I told him, I said, if it was me in your place, I mean, I'd rather go instead of you, And he's like, well, no, I'm going, but you're going to continue on, He's like, I don't know what you're going to do, because he was worried about me for sure, but I'm like, I'm just going to keep going, honey, that's all I can do. I said, I'll see you when I see you, right? Yeah, as I believe that love is eternal, and I'm sure I'll see him again. So I told him, I said, I'm sure, I'm positive, absolutely positive we'll be together again. It's an eternal thing, right? So that brings me peace, right? But at the end of the road, we are stuck with ourselves, And, I would say, find your truth. Find your truth. Find who you are. The abuse defined me. It definitely did. It defined my nature. But also what it did was it caused me to be kind of a bit of a rebel, right? I don't really take crap from people, right? So I'm not a doormat. And I don't, because of the way I grew up being abused, I don't let people abuse me. Really? So it's kind of like hard for people to abuse me because they can't get that close. Like, they just can't get close enough to, like, really try to hurt me. Like, because I don't allow it, I have a good life. I have, most people would say, your life sucks, man. You don't have a job. Your body's all broken up. Like, what the hell? You're talking about a good life. I do have a good life because I've got my integrity. I've got integrity. I've got dignity. I got my dignity back. And I can stand up, tall and strong. And I'm telling you, there's not many people that would want to mess with me. Even in the condition I'm in, it would not be a good idea to try to take me on, because I'm tough, right? And so instead of hurting people, I'm tough in the way to stand up for people, and stand up for what's right. So I'm not tough in the sense that I go around hurting people. I'm tough in the sense that you don't want to come against me, because I will win. You know what I mean? Because I know the truth, right? I know what truth is, and I will win. So the victory is mine, right? Absolutely it is. And I would wish that for you. Whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, you kind of have to live like maybe this year is maybe the last year you have to do it, right? You could say today is the last day. You could go as far as saying today is the last day. None of us know if we have tomorrow, right? So find what brings you that peace and that happiness, Like, I'm kind of in limbo this year because of my broken shoulder, and there's not much I can really do. I've been sitting around just listening to, like, music that I really love, and there's that new artist, Rin, who's not new. He's been around for a long time. You can watch my video. I talked about Rin as a survivor of abuse, how I felt about his work, some of his work, anyway. And then I'm talking about Radiohead, because Radiohead, for me, I thought about it. I thought, it's almost a spiritual experience. Like, I was listening to their music, and especially in Rainbows, in Rainbows from the Basement, and watching that video and just listening to their music over and over again. And I'm like, that music, if I died right now, it'd be okay, right? People would be like, and it's because my ears have heard such beautiful, beautiful sounds, right? I've been listening to beautiful music, right, for my whole life, and I appreciate it, and I love it. And I think of God's creation, and how all of this really, in culmination, points to the Creator Maker, right? Regardless of whether people think that it does or not. Anything that actually does good and brings no harm, is of God, right? It's the divine. And so it's like, my ears have been so blessed to listen to such beautiful, beautiful music. And people would say, Radiohead? Like, really? Rin? Well, if you haven't heard Rin, check him out. Just take a listen to all of his stuff, and you'll find the little nuggets that you really love, right? And then Radiohead, listen to all their stuff, beginning to end. Even the Smile and all the stuff they're doing now on with their, projects, side projects. And just listen. Just listen to what they're saying through their music. And you'll find your little nuggets, right? So you find the music that you love to listen to, and let it inspire you, right? To create or to do. Everybody's got a different gift. Everybody's gifts are different, right? But for me, I can't do much. I'm stuck. I'm into the guitar. I love guitar. I'm learning how to play guitar, and I'm really focusing on sounds and music and having a great time. And so obviously I'm into music. But the thing is whatever you're into. Well, I'm into words communication. That's why I wrote my books. That's why I do all these broadcasts, because I'm into communicating truth to people, reality and truth. So it's kind of like, whatever you find that you like, whatever medium you like to use, whether it's drawing or clay or tapestry or, sewing or knitting or, art, painting, whatever it is, right? Hair design, doesn't matter. Chase your gifts, man. Chase your dreams. Don't sit in this pattern of, I'm an abuse survivor. I'm an abuse survivor. Yes, we are survivors of abuse, right? We're much more than that. Much, much more. We're people on this planet with gifts and wonderful things to share with people, right? And in whatever way you can do it, So if you only had today that you knew you had, at the end of the day, can you lay your head down on the pillow and say, you know what? I made it. I survived what most people could not survive, right? I'm an abuse survivor. I made it. And I can do this, and I've kicked some butt. I'm good to myself. I'm good to others. And you know what? At the end of the day, I've got my dignity. I did the best I could. And that has to be good enough, right? Because we only have so many hours per day to do this, right? And then tomorrow you do that again, right? And so, we need to work on the stuff that we need to work on, whatever is in our life that's causing us, to have to look back all the time, and, what's caused these wounds and this hurt and this pain. But you need to compartmentalize it. Don't give it your whole full attention all the time. Like, you need to be an adult. Like, if you're an adult survivor, you need to do the adult survivor stuff in pieces. Like, you gotta live too. You need to find some enjoyment in this life. It's not meant to be suffering all the time. That's not where the fun is, That's not the good way to end. I watched my mom on her deathbed, and she had a horrible freaking life, I just think about some of the beatings that she took from my dad, that we all tried to save her from, And I'm like, why would she stay and put up with that, Like, why? Right? For the same reasons I stayed and put up with my mom beating on me. I could have just gone into foster care. Right? And it's like, we stay, but why? Right? So then my mom, at the age of 68 years old, very sick and not well, knew nothing but abuse and garbage her whole life. And it was devastating to see her go down like that. And that's part of the reason really why I was like, what, I'm not going out that way. I'm not going out that way. No. But I didn't start facing it till the age of 44. So another 14 years later, or 13 years later, right, that I hit rock bottom. So sometimes it takes time to, get things moving. But whatever it is, we may not have that much time. So you need to find that fight within you that says, you know what, I can do this. I can reach out, I can get some help, whether it's self-help or whether it's a therapist or counselor or a psychotherapist or whatever. I can get off the drugs if you're using drugs. I can get off the alcohol if you're using alcohol. Go into some programs, get some help, and then go out and do your thing, and you be victorious in your thing, right? Whatever your thing is. Even if it's just raising your family, which is a wonderful thing to do. I can't imagine that's what I missed out on. See, I don't have kids, I don't have grandkids, I've got nothing, right? I've just got myself at the end of the day, right? But to have a family and be able to be a good parent and a good grandparent, to be that support and that strong support, that's really the greatest gift of all. That's what it truly means to be human, right? Is to be able to support and share, love your family, love your friends. That's what life's all about, man. Not sitting around thinking that, your life is over because you're an abuse survivor. No. You just need to get it started. You need to get it started in the right direction, right? So make that today. Make that choice today. To live, to reach out and get some help. Help yourself, help others, and, start doing your dream like today, right? Have a wonderful day, everybody. Talk to you later.